Hey guys, I am so excited to share this with you today. So I wanted to come in here because I know that it is tax season, dare I say it. And I know that we probably all want to get our taxes over with without forgetting anything, any forms or any deductions. But it's difficult when we need to get through a year's worth of bookkeeping and finance stuff in like 2 months, right? 2 or 3 months. So that's what's prompting this video. But really, what I want to cover today is 5 simple steps to help you feel in control and on top of your finances all year round so that you don't have to get ready for tax season because you're just already ready. And I want to especially share how this shift has actually helped me change the way that I look at my finance tasks every week. And instead of dreading it, I'm actually now excited. Like I have an appointment on my calendar, I keep it with myself, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do every Friday. So stay until the end to hear more about that. I'm going to share the secret to basically turning that weekly paperwork feeling into a celebration of your values and your biggest, which actually helps you to show up more confident in all the different areas of your life and your business. So again, I'll be honest, I'm showing this to you because I know we're probably all thinking about taxes, and tax season sometimes makes us want to like hide under the covers. But by the end of this video, my hope is that you're not just going to see a way to like get your taxes done and be prepared and think of it as like this big hurdle you have to get over, but actually have some vision for how just 15 minutes a week can actually protect your heart around this idea. And again, change your perspective so that you can walk the walk in your business. But first, I want you to know my goal is that by the end of this, you can walk away with just 1 or 2 small things that you can do like right away, immediately. They will feel completely doable. And it will help you stay on top of your finances. I'm not going to get into a bunch of technical bookkeeping language, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to share a few tips that anyone can do to, again, feel more at peace and in control of this all year long, even if like normally this stuff makes you nervous or sweaty, because I get that. If you want a copy of my notes, just comment notes in the comments so that you don't have to write while I'm talking and you can have a document to follow along with later. Make sure, like I said, to stay for the end because that is where I'm really going to cast the vision of the bigger impact that this has, not just being ready for taxes, but how this can change how you show up as a person. If you do like this video, we can actually dive deeper into some of these concepts if you'd like. So just comment finances below if you want to have a conversation about how we can work together and we can help you implement some of this stuff into your business and specifically into your Honeybook account. So here's where the context comes from. Last week, I opened up my Honeybook account and I used the Honeybook Balance, which is their like bank account that's connected into your Honeybook. And I was just feeling so grateful because in the Honeybook Balance, you can set up savings buckets. And my tithe bucket was full. And I feel like every week I see that it is full. And I'm grateful because that is one of the goals that I've had for my business from the beginning. I believe God gave me the experience and the history to be able to be in this spot. I feel grateful to be able to share what I do and make a living out of it. And I just want to make sure that I'm honoring that commitment and that gratitude by giving my tithe. Now, regardless of what your faith walk is, maybe that's not something that you practice, and that's okay, but there's probably other values that you have. And so as I'm looking at these buckets, I was thinking, this is literally what it looks like to have a system that supports your values. And that's something that I talk about a lot, but when you're living it out, it makes me feel so happy and at peace. And so this weekend in church, we actually had Matt Forte, who is a former running back of the Chicago Bears. He was speaking at our church this weekend. And he's probably not the first person to say this, but he did remind me, when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And so that's the idea of this, is that you are just staying ready by taking these little steps every week or every day to living out your goals and your values and your dreams. So I also want to give a quick disclaimer that just like with any system, there's always a lift at the beginning when you're starting, but I have built this way of kind of engaging with my finances little by little over the past year or so. And so I hope that you don't feel overwhelmed. I hope that you feel encouraged. Like I said, just pick one thing of these 5 steps I'm going to give you and implement one thing, and then you can continue to add on step by step by step. So here's the 5 things I'm going to cover. I love alliteration, so bear with me, but I'm calling this the 5-step 15-minute finance Friday. So here we go. Here's the 5 things. The first one is your system. We're going to talk about a checklist. We're going to talk about a recurring task or reminder. We're going to talk about time blocking, and then we're going to talk about actually doing the thing that you said you're going to do. So the first thing we're going to talk about, like I said, is the system. So this is just choosing how you're going to track your finances. This is a bigger decision that I'm not going to delve into in depth right now, but I'm going to give you just a few handles of how to think about it. So first of all, is there a tool that you're already using that can do what you need? So maybe you're already using QuickBooks, or like I said, maybe you have Honeybook. Maybe you like Google Sheets and you just track your finances in there. I personally, that gives me anxiety and that makes me sweat. I like having system. I use QuickBooks Online. But what I always tell people is to make sure you choose something that you're actually going to use. That's the most important part, because if you don't work the system won't work. So you have to pick a system that you feel confident that you will use consistently. The other thing that you can consider is if you're able to outsource this. So maybe you're in a spot where you can afford to pay a bookkeeper or maybe a VA to kind of support you in some of this. And so those are some considerations that you want to think about. Now, I'll give a little bit of context of what I do. I have been using QuickBooks since, 2015 when I had my other business. And so I'm familiar with it. Again, been using it over 10 years. So it's not intimidating to me anymore. I like that it has rules, is what it's called, where it can like categorize expenses for you based on how you've categorized them in the past. I know how it works, so I'm comfortable with that. But again, I know some people use Wave or Xero. If you're a Honeybook user, QuickBooks does integrate with Honeybook. And so that, again, would be my choice if you don't have a tool yet for bookkeeping. I believe it's about $35 a month. They may have increased the subscription, but I think it's a great tool. You can also track your mileage in there. So if you are like a photo booth owner or a mobile bar or something and you want to write off your mileage because you're driving a lot, that's a great tool because those things are connected in together and you can pull reports for your accountant at the end of the year. The second sort of system or way that I've systemized this, and this is newer, like I said, with the Honeybook balance account. So this is an actual bank account through Piedmont Bank. And essentially, when people pay you through Honeybook, you have immediate access to those funds and you have a debit card. So you can use that to pay. I mean, I have most of my subscriptions on there. But then, like I said, the other thing you can do is set up savings buckets. So I know there are some other bank accounts that have this. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I've spoken to other business owners that on purpose have bank accounts that have savings buckets. So I'll just tell you the ones I use. Remember, I like alliteration. So I have a taxes bucket. I have team. I have tithe. That's where the alliteration ends, unfortunately. And then I have like a rainy day fund. I have a credit card one. But what you can do is you can actually tell Honeybook every single time I get a payment, I want to take a certain percentage and drop it into that bucket. So what that does is it takes the math away. In the past, before I had this account, I was doing that every Friday. I was calculating like, okay, how many payments did I have come in this week? What's 10% of that so that I can tithe it? I didn't have any tax bucket at all, y'all. Nothing. I was not saving for taxes at all. And last year we got real close. So I decided to put on my big girl panties and create myself a system so that I would not be freaked out that we might end up owing more than I had in my bank account to pay, right? And then, like I said, the tithe piece, the team payments, it's honestly kind of a backup. It's not a high percentage that I put in there because I normally have enough to pay my team out of just the normal balance account. But the team payments is in case like a client pays something late. I am still responsible for paying my team, whether a client pays late or not. And so I have that bucket as kind of a fail safe. So just to give you an idea, I worked with somebody who had an account that was like a fun account. And so she uses that like every month if she hits her goals, she takes that out and she goes to the spa or she goes to the movies or does something fun with it. So you can be creative of what buckets you have. So that's system. Step 2 is your checklist. So for this, you want to ask yourself, what are a few key things that you can do each week to help you stay on top of your finances so that you're not behind at the end of the year? So here's the checklist that I have. And remember, I've kind of added to this and tweaked it over time. So the first one is tithe. The next one is paying my business credit card. The next one is updating. I have an Airtable base with all my client financials. So I just run in there real quick and do a couple updates so that I can pull some reports later. I look over my subscriptions to just make sure, hey, what's coming out next week? Do I need to move money in any different funds? Do I have an annual subscription coming up that I need to make sure I have money in the account for that? I review my bookkeeping. So I go in and categorize whatever expenses were there that week and any payments. And then I pay my team and then I pay myself. So again, I've developed systems for each one of these things. Now, when I first started this, it did take me a little while to do, but I have cut it down so that now it only takes me 15 minutes because it's fast. I've been doing it so long. So think about what that would look like for you. Now, again, if you're just starting, maybe you just pick one of those things. Maybe you're like, I'm committing to going in and doing my bookkeeping for 10 minutes every Friday. If you're behind on your bookkeeping and you need to catch up, maybe you start it with like 20 minutes and then you can decrease it as you get caught up. So if you have questions about any of those things, feel free to let me know because I do have systems, like I said, for almost everything. All right, step 3 is setting a reminder or a recurring task that actually has that checklist in it. So the checklist is the first thing, but then you need to remind yourself and you want to make it easy for you to actually check those things off the list. So for me, what I do is set up a recurring task in ClickUp. And in the description, there's a checklist of all those little tasks that I just read to you. So I think it's like 7 tasks. And each one of those, if I need to navigate to a link, like to a website, I put the link. So for tithing, I put the link where I go to pay put my tithe. For the credit card, I click my bank account. I have the link there to log in. And then I also have a Google Sheet where I'm tracking my payments. That's just an extra thing for me this year because I want to be able to see throughout the year how much I've paid off on the credit card. That motivates me to keep doing it. And then again, for everything else, I have like a link so that on that checklist, again, I'm making it easy for myself so that I'm not trying to go in my bookmarks and where did I put that link? And oh my gosh, that's the wrong website and whatever. I'm just putting the direct link so it's easy. So if you have a project management tool, you can make it recur there. Or if you want to just have like a reminder, or maybe you have a Google Doc where you put this checklist and all the corresponding links, and you just pull that up each week to look at it. So the pro tip, again, is to make sure that you have one spot you can go with all the links to the things that you need to do, like link to log into QuickBooks, right? When I was doing all of these separately and I didn't have a cohesive checklist, it was probably taking me 30 to 60 minutes because I was like, first of all, trying to remember what all the things were. And then second of all, I would have to go like, okay, QuickBooks, whatever. And I'd have to go find all of the links. Now that I have this checklist with all the links in it, it's taking me, I promise you guys, it's like 12 to 15 minutes every Friday. I've been timing it because it's a little bit of like a competition. It's kind of fun. Okay, so hopefully that will help. Here's the 4th thing now. You've got your system, you've got a checklist, you've got a recurring task or some sort of reminder with all of your links. And then the 4th thing is a time block. So you actually need to put time into your calendar for this, right? The reason you want to do this is so that you don't accidentally miss it and so that someone can't book over that time with you. Okay, so you don't want like a networking call to put on your calendar and then you're like, well, I guess I can't do my finance tasks this week, right? So choose a day and time that you do this every week. Fridays are my CEO days. I take minimal calls on that day. There's very specific instances where I will take a call for like a specific client or something like that for a reschedule. For the most part, I reserve that for deep thinking, planning, strategic CEO work. And this 15-minute block is part of that for me. It sets me up to be able to now look deeper or even, I guess, bigger picture at all of the numbers of my business and evaluate like, where am I at and where do I need to go next week? So make sure you actually put it into your calendar. You might have to move it around. Maybe you pick a day and you realize, actually, I have missed that appointment with myself for the last 3 weeks. And it's a good reason. It's because that's when my clients are most available. Just move it to a different day. So be flexible with yourself. That's one of the most important things about systems like this is knowing how to evaluate. Like, is it working or do I need to make a tweak? And that's fine. You're not failing if you need to make a tweak. You're paying attention and you're refining the system, right? All right. So we have system, we have checklist, we have reminder or recurring task, we have time block, and then now the fifth thing, which is to actually do the task. So please tell me that this is not just me, that sometimes you put something in your calendar and it's just an appointment with yourself and you just don't do it. Like you're just like, oh, I should be doing marketing right now. And you just work on other stuff. Can you please put like, I do that too in the comments if you've ever done that? I hope it's not just me. My finance one, I keep that appointment with myself. Even if I need to like move it around for some reason because I had to drive my kid to school or they were late or whatever, I keep that appointment every Friday. For some reason, my marketing tasks have been harder. So I'm tweaking that right now to figure out how can I make that better so that I actually show up to that appointment every week. So make sure you put it in the calendar, but then the trick is you actually have to do it. So here is the secret that I promised you at the beginning. This is the part that changed how I feel about that finance appointment and helped me to look forward to it every week. Okay. And this is again, now I'm trying to take this and apply it to like the other things in my business that I'm trying to time block for. Most people will look at their bank account to see what they spent. But what I want you to think about is looking at it to see what you want to steward. So when you have these buckets set up, for example, tithe, savings, maybe it's like a family vacation fund, whatever the value is for you, every time you do that 15-minute Finance Friday, you are proving to yourself that you are making progress towards your goal. I cannot tell you how much of an impact that has had on my personal confidence because, again, you're not just doing routine admin anymore. You're actually proving and you're seeing proof with your actual eyes that your business is helping you live out your values. So I don't know about you guys, but I think most of the time, the reason we start a business is because we know we're good at something. We know that we can monetize it and we have some sort of vision that's bigger than ourselves. Business ownership is not easy. So for us to commit to it, that means that there's some underlying reason that we're willing to go through all the hardship. And I think a lot of the time, the reason is because when we're owning our own business, we're in control of how we show up, of what values we bring to work, of how we treat our clients, of who we work with, of when we work. Like, do I work on weekends? Do I not? Right? And so when you think about it in this big picture way, and you have a system set up that you can actually live these values out, it is so encouraging and inspiring because, again, every single Friday, you're showing up and proving to yourself that you're doing it, gosh darn it. So when that admin is tied to your why, it's not a chore anymore. It's a choice, right? And you're happy with your choice and you're proud of yourself. So it's the difference between like slogging through and dreading all of this admin stuff and actually leading yourself and leading your finances to be closer to the vision that you have. So important. So this appointment with myself is where I actually live out that vision. So let me give you just a few examples. Number one, I always wanted this business to have a team of women that I could kind of train up to help me support my clients. I wanted to give them an opportunity. I wanted to help build into them. And I wanted to help them provide for their family in a way that was like happy and enjoyable for them and not a job that they hated. So I have a bucket for that. I am actually doing that every single Friday when I pay my team. I'm living out that value and I feel grateful and happy. The next one is, again, that first fruits idea. So if you are a Christian and you tithe, Bible says to bring the first fruits of your labor. I remember hearing a talk about this before. And back in the day when they wrote the Bible, it was primarily directed towards like farmers, right? And so they would take the first harvest and they would give that as their tithe. For us, it's a little trickier, especially in the digital age, because our money is just kind of numbers in a spreadsheet or in a bank account. And so what I love about having these savings buckets is that money goes into that bucket immediately. So I can't accidentally spend it and break my promise to myself that I wanted to give back, right? And so I can see and watch that bucket throughout the week increase. And it's so fun, you guys, to see like on a Friday when I have paid that tithe, and then on Monday or Tuesday, if I have a client payment, there's already money in that bucket again. I can't tell you how grateful I am. So if you do work with me, thank you. That is one of the things that this money goes towards. The third thing is I have a temporary goal to pay off this business credit card. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I'm not generally a credit person. But I was kind of exploring the idea of how can I use credit to help me advance my business? And it's credit isn't bad in and of itself if we're using it in a proper way, right? That didn't end up working out for me. So now I just want to pay the credit card off. So again, I have this goal so that I can use that money that's currently going towards the credit card towards something better in the future. And I can't wait to change that credit card bucket to something better, like a fun or a family bucket. I'm even playing around with some ideas of like client gifts or milestones, like anniversaries, that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that. And then here's the one that I'm also very excited about. Sorry to bring it back to taxes, but I do have a taxes bucket. Even though I'm not moving money out of it, that taxes bucket has money in it, friends. So when I look at that tax bucket, I hope you can relate to this. I'm like, I'm a grown up. I have a real live business and I have money. I have planned. I'm prepared. I'm a responsible business owner. That is how I feel when I look at that bucket, like every time. So the goal again is to feel good about the decisions you're making and to have a system that supports those values. So having the money in these different buckets just proves that I'm actually living out what I said was important to me, right? And that's kind of how budgets work. I used to be kind of afraid of a budget because I just thought that if you spent outside of the budget, that like it was drastic, you were messing up and it was terrible. But really, your budget should live out your values. So if having going on adventures and trips with your family is important to you, I hope you have a budget line item for that, right? If you're trying to save up for a house, I hope you have a budget line item for savings towards that goal. That is why and how we want to set up these systems. So it feels good to do what we actually say that we're going to do. I'm excited, like I said, to just kind of keep playing around with these buckets. And as I pay off the credit card and kind of get some more revenue in my business, to understand what bigger impact I can have with those funds. So that's the reward. That's hidden number 6 is kind of the reward, knowing that you're actually becoming the person that you said you would be and that you wanted to be. And you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? Living out the values and the goals. So I hope that this helps you to understand you don't have to be a bookkeeper or an accountant to be a good steward of your funds and your revenue. You just need to have recurring rhythm, some checklists, some systems in place so that you can actually prove to yourself that what you said you would do, you are going to do. So what I'll leave you with is, if it matters to your heart, let's try to make it easy to live it out, right? This is why I always say, make it easy. Make it easy for your clients to pay you and make it easy for you to be accountable to yourself. So just a quick recap. Here are the 5 steps that I mentioned. You want to have a system. You want to have a checklist. You want to have a recurring task or a reminder. You want to make sure that your links are in there somewhere. You want to actually time block to get through that checklist. And then you want to actually do the thing. And if you are able to have a system that helps you to already do the math and pre-organize the funds and where they're supposed to go, it's going to help you to live out your values. So again, if you want my notes that includes my checklist as a template, just drop notes in the comments and I will send that over to you. And then if you do want to chat about how we can kind of architect your Honeybook and set up your systems to handle these buckets for you and help you get closer to your goals, just comment finances and I will be happy to send you a link so that we can have a conversation about that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, pick one thing. Even if you just pick one, just start with that. And then maybe in a month you add a second thing so that you can continue to move closer and closer to your goal. So hope this was helpful. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.